Hey everyone, welcome to Shunya One, episode 181. A very special episode up again today. We are talking to Arham Partap Jain, who is the founder and chief trucking officer of a company called Trucknetic. I think while we heard his story, there's so much to really unpack because not only has he built this very innovative company recently, I think his personal story of a founder of being a serial entrepreneur or rather a social entrepreneur was very inspiring, and I think you'll understand like this is one of those stories which is very true to what the Indian entrepreneurship means, and of course the sector that Trucknetic is trying to solve for, which is the Indian logistics industry. And the depth in which it's trying to solve is very interesting. So let's take a break, come back and talk to Arham about his journey.
Hello, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcasts Network. On Think Fast, Varun and Suchita talk about how the podcast industry hit the 1 billion mark. On Big Talk about Tiny Humans, Devi Shobha and Meghna address video game addiction in children. On The Longest Constitution, Priya explores the limits of free speech. On All Things Policy, the Takshashila folk discuss various aspects of the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework, or IPEF. And on Football Twaddle, Saru Baru and Yash analyze Real Madrid's UCL win. We've got some exciting news for you. IVM Podcasts has just launched its merch, and our first line is out now. Head to the IVM Podcasts website and click on the shop tab to check out our first collection of t-shirts. Do follow us on social media. We are IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. Also, don't forget to rate us on any platform you're listening on. And you can also check us out on YouTube. We're also doing a small listener survey to better understand how you respond to our shows and advertising on the network. We would really appreciate it if you could spare a few minutes to fill it out. It helps us build better shows for you. And finally, we would like to thank our sponsors this week: SBI Life Insurance, Jupiter, a digital banking app, Cap Gemini, get the future you want, Intel V Pro, built for business, and Intel, future banao wonderful with Intel-powered laptops.
Hey Arham, how are you doing today? Thank you for being on Shunya One. It's good to see you.
Hey, nice to be here. I'm doing wonderful. How about you? How's morning for
Doing
you?
fine as well.
How's the Friday morning for you?
Yeah, I know it's an
Perfect.
interesting Friday morning. I think
It is.
we are all, at least in Mumbai, we are sort of waiting for the rains to kick in. I think we have been
Delhi's a bit
tired of all
luckier,
the
I
hot
believe.
weather.
Delhi's a bit
Yeah,
luckier. I
it's
think the rain
surprisingly so.
started a week ago. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
surprisingly. So
such a
weather,
relief
but
from 50 degrees.
of course. But Bombay, of course, right? When it rains, it really rains. So I
Yes.
think once it starts, it doesn't stop. So, well, we all have our interesting situations. But,
Right.
that brings me to ask you, of course, and we will get into, what you're building today, Trucknetic, the entire platform. But I always like to ask, the journey behind what led you to this kind of a product, this kind of a domain overall, and your
Right.
personal entrepreneurship journey. If you could share that with everyone listening.
Sure. I believe my journey is one of the most unconventional journeys that people would not kind of correlate with. And I believe every journey is in a way like that.
Right.
But never thought like I'll gonna be running a tech company. I mean, like I always aspired to do businesses, but never thought like I'll gonna do logistics or I'll gonna do technology in logistics particularly. So my
Mhm.
journey, I mean, like Shiladitya, started when I kind of, like how it is all like in the very beginning. I came from a tier two town, sort of a village. I mean, like back in the day, it was a village, and I was living with my grandparents, and because my dad was just starting out, he was looking out to kind
Mhm.
of establish his business, and us, we come from a traditional sort of a family where we were primarily into education. My great grandfather or grandfather both were teachers, and my dad kind
Wow.
of wanted to kind of get out of that and start exploring into entrepreneurship journey. I mean, like he was trying out like he can't be a teacher or a professor or something like that. So those were the days when he was establishing his business. He he was mostly outside that town. I was living with my grandparents till ninth standard, and then after once my dad has some sort of a footprint in chemical industry, like in trading, where he started his business from. We moved to Delhi, so it was quite a shift from there. I mean, like in the village back in 90s, I mean, like there was nothing.
Yeah.
TV was a fortunate thing to have. No
Yeah.
computer, no
Which town
internet.
was this? Which town was
It
this?
was it was Charkhi Dadri. It's in Haryana.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
Not that far from Delhi. I mean, like it's a 3 hour drive. But having said that, I mean, like it's a kind of a very remote village. Now I think it's picking up. I mean, like it has become a district. So I think, the towns are also improving in
Right.
last 20-25 years. But back in the day, there was nothing. I mean, like no restaurant, no theaters, nothing to go out. Internet wasn't there. Computers were very very few. I mean, like maybe like one cafe, cyber cafe, and stuff like that, where you can use computers and stuff. So
Right.
back in the day, it was very sort of a humble sort of upbringing. Where majorly the focus went on to either studying or playing cricket. How everybody
Mhm.
end up growing up with. And then moved to Delhi, and it was a very very big change for a kid like me, who didn't know how to speak English properly.
Mhm.
To the school I came over here, people from day one were like way way open up front, and I mean like they were quite different,
Right. Of
because
course.
education is just one part of it. The overall personality of the kids that I could see, I mean like it was very very different, and that too in a crucial standard where everybody eyes for getting good marks in 10th. So it was a quite a shift, but it helped me to kind of see both the places. I mean, like it was a bit of overwhelming experience, specifically for a kid to coming from a village to Delhi directly, and to a very hi-fi school, and and kind of interacting with people and trying to make a conversation, and kids being kids, they end up kind of trying to kind of dominate you. But what
Hmm.
happened was my studies helped me out to kind of excel. So that's why I wasn't you know hurt too much, in the process of them bullying me, because of all my shortcomings that they thought. But it was a
Mm.
learning experience for me, and so it went till 12th. And but the thing was, because we have very few opportunities, so we couldn't have our own individual goals of what we want to do. So it was like something that has been taught to us by our parents, or maybe somebody in the external circle who have already done that. So IIT and computer science engineering was the thing that everybody used to prescribe back in the day. And
Right.
so it kind of also become my sort of a goal. I mean, like there wasn't any option otherwise. So I joined VMC with them on the classes, went to bunch of classes as well alongside my education. Did fairly well in 10th, but in 11th, 12th, I started realizing that okay, I'm good at it, but I don't like to kind of study too hard. Specifically, like I can't just slog 15 hours of every single day. I mean, like including school,
Mm.
to kind of solve the questions and answers. But again, I wasn't enough. I mean, like I couldn't get out of it. I mean, like because expectations started coming from me. Considering I had got good sort of scores in 10th and stuff, and got into VMC. So it was sort of a thing that they expected me to kind of do. So anyways, I mean, like I couldn't clear IIT JEE. I mean, like the rank was poor, and then I dropped a year as well. Again, thinking that I'm gonna do it, considering that there wasn't anything apart from just getting into IIT. So uh, I went to bunch of classes, studied for another year, but again couldn't get the desired results. So
Mm.
so that day I decided that okay, I don't give a damn about where I'm going. I'll just join a college according to what rank I've got, and just start building my life. So I joined a college called ITM, and uh, for the first time in my life, I've started realizing the importance of life, or taking the baton in my hands, in terms of I'll drive my life by myself the way I wanted to. And that perception kind of changed everything. I joined mechanical engineering. Uh, as a kid, I didn't get too many opportunities, but one thing that kind of always used to excite me was jet planes. And fortunately, when I joined mechanical engineering, I somehow manifested to kind of do an internship in HAL, Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, which manufactures, Sukhoi 30 MKI. And I was lucky enough that I sat in the one of those planes while it was doing the
Wow.
ground testing. So so uh,
Wow.
so
All right.
so that was the experience I had, and then I went on to kind of doing another fellowship internship with the DRDO, where I structured their entire missile flow. So these were the two internships which were eye opening, and kind of I knew the caliber that I had. But at the same time, I was like very sure that I figured that I cannot kind of sit in the shop floor post my what do you call as mechanical engineering. So I started kind of looking out for opportunities apart from that, because these internship that I did was mere attractions that after 3-4 months it was like, it's fine, I mean, like, I've seen this. Now what's next? So I started kind of looking out for opportunities, and one of the things that came my way was social entrepreneurship in a very sort of a different way, where like I started exploring myself while I was in college. I used to participate in everything. I used to organize whatever I used to get my hands on, just to explore, because I have left myself 100% free in terms of what
Mm.
can be done, what cannot be, without any sort of preconceived notions about my skill sets or my interests, because there weren't any. So I developed the interest of reading a lot. I used to sit in libraries for like 4 to 5 hours every day. Even not going to the classes, and kind of rather sitting in the library and reading random books, from travel to biographies to fiction to magazines.
Mm.
Anything that used to come my way, I used to kind of love doing that. So and that's how I developed the interest in reading. And I mean, like, in 2019 I read 50 books in a year. So, and I'm now I've kind of moved to 30, but again, so that's the journey, when it comes to reading. And now, like, I mean, like, a couple of years ago, I've read Naval Ravikant's The Almanac of Naval Ravikant. So he
Yeah.
always says that you start developing the habit of reading whatever you want to read, right? And then
Right.
automatically you reach to what you want to. So now I legit read quantum mechanics, Richard Feynman, mental models, Fernam Street, and stuff like that. So, and
Wow.
but
Nice.
or like N. Talib. So it automatically shifts from reading travel magazines to this journey, in last 9-10 years. So but I kept myself very open while I was in college. And I got the opportunity of social entrepreneurship by like, used to play a lot of sports as well while I was in college. So I was playing lawn tennis. I specifically remember that sort of day. And a couple of my friends from when I was in first year came to me and said, like, we are going for a volunteering thing post our college. uh, would you come with us? I said, like, I have a lawn tennis session after the college as well, and I would not be coming,
Mm.
because why would I waste my time doing these stupid things? And but friends being friends, they coaxed me to kind of come with them. And I just went. I was like, I wasn't I didn't like it, but just because they forced me to, I went there. And it was like a ushering job for a non-profit organization based out of Gurgaon, where
Mm.
we were supposed to be ushers, where we used to interact with the kids. So these were orphans, and this particular NGO has put up a dance and music festival for them. So the idea was
Mm.
to kind of interact with them, to talk to them, or usher them to their seats, and just maintain a decorum. So
Right.
it was, when I went there, I mean, like, I didn't feel anything, to be honest. But after the show, we get an opportunity to interact with a few kids. And again, I don't know, like, why, it's sort of a serendipity in a way, that one of the guys told me that he wants to become a mechanical engineering engineer with a specialty in automobile, which I
Mm.
was doing while I was in college. And he was so sure that he wanted to join Maruti after that. And this guy with this cars opportunity doesn't know, like, where he will gonna get the college degree from, or even
Mm.
even if he's gonna make to a college, right? But his aspirations were very high and very clear. And at the same time, I was like, dude, I just joined mechanical engineering. I'm not sure if I'm gonna take a job. So
Yeah.
that kind of helped me, like, people. So right now I am with the opportunity, which I don't like, and there is somebody who doesn't know how to reach there, wants to be in my place. So that's why I felt, that sort of a connect. And I dabbled into this field of social entrepreneurship by doing a lot of internships to understand the entire sector in the first second year. then kind of started with smaller events, tied up with a non-profit organization based out of Washington DC called Enactus. Started their chapter in the country, started few projects, like I got inspired quite a bit and made a team of 40 students from first,
Wow.
second year, third years as well, and started off a couple of projects. So one of the projects was Project Dropbox, where we started collecting one side use sheets and two side use sheets separately. One side use sheets we used to kind of give it to the non-profit organization, where they used to kind of stitch it into the notebooks, and then we used to sell again into the colleges and the nearby organizations, because we were based out of Gurgaon, so we have access to few corporates. And the two-sided one we used to kind of recycle and again give it to the same NGO to make some products out of it,
Hmm.
and then again used to resell it in the college bookshops, and in some few organizations as well. So that was the first project where I legit felt that social impact sector is not about helping somebody or uplifting not so privileged people. It's about empowering them. So we
Hmm.
weren't kind of giving them few arms, or we weren't kind of giving some donations to them. We were helping them to kind of get the job. We were helping them to make money. We were providing them the opportunity, or we were just mere catalyst to do that. So that kind of made me felt like, okay, this is one of the spaces that I want to kind of do afterwards as well. And my journey continued. The second project we did was quite a success, and that kind of gave me a proper entry into social entrepreneurship world, which I did for a few years in my beginning of the career.
Hmm.
So there was a project called Project Naya Ujala, which we started when I was in the senior year of the college. So Naya Ujala was a project where we were installing, bottles, 2 liter soda bottles, the transparent ones, filled with water and chlorine tablet, and install it onto the rooftops of the slum areas and the
Hmm.
villages, which used to act as an incandescent bulb by the simple principle of total internal reflection. So this was
Hmm.
started by one of the MIT professors, and then he didn't patent it because he wanted to kind of make it open, so that anybody can kind of help their respective countries. And we customize it according to the Indian sort of construction, because most of them have tin sheets and stuff, and installed over 80,000 sort of bottles, specifically in northern India and few in the southern part of India. Yeah, Project Naya Ujala, we got the recognition from Unilever North America team, and it kind of transpired into us starting a non-profit organization post my college. So it was the first entrepreneurial sort of thing that I started. I mean, like, it was a social entrepreneurship firm, a non-profit organization called APJ Microfinancial Services. So primarily, we scouted an opportunity. How can we help underprivileged people in the best way possible? So while we
Hmm.
were doing the diligence, we figured that if they would have what do you call as, if they are financially included, once, so I mean, like, most of the problems can be solved right from there. I mean, like, they
Hmm.
can pay
Hmm.
for the sanitation, education, safe drinking and everything. So that was the root problem of all the courses. That's what we believed in. So what we did, we kind of surveyed close to 50,000 people in the slum areas. The approach was to kind of go to the pradhan or the presidents of the villages or the slum areas and talk to them, and then they used to kind of make us speak to the entire public at once. So that's why we were able to kind of, in a very short span of like 2 months, able to kind of talk to close to 50,000 people about like the importance of getting a bank account. So
Hmm.
we started doing that. So what we did was, we started providing the financial literacy to the people, as well as helping them out to kind of open the bank accounts and including them financially. But as we were going through, we figured that most of these guys, they don't even have a social inclusion. They're socially excluded as well. I mean, like, they don't have a proof of identity or residence. So then we did a sort of backward integration where we tied up with UIDAI, which used to issue
Hmm.
Aadhaar back in the day, uh, and started introducing the people to the community. So who can help them to kind of identify, like, because Aadhaar organization wants somebody to kind of take the onus to kind of
Hmm.
approve that, okay, this is this guy or this person is Indian. So
Hmm.
that we started doing that, and that's how we were able to kind of help a lot of people getting the proof of identity like Aadhaar card, and also caught few scams that were going on. that in these villages people were taking 100 to 200 rupees and used to edit on a computer, where their names, and used to kind of give them a just a printout, not even
Okay.
used to give them the fake Aadhaar card. It's just a black and white printout, and they used to take 100 to 200 rupees and used to say that this is your Aadhaar card. So that scam was getting was something that we figured and caught and then reported and made those guys out of that system. Similarly, we figured that there are a lot of chit funds going, still working out, you
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
and a lot of people are working on committee basis, where like a lala, there will be one person, like a small banya, or a, who would be providing them the loans of like 5,000 rupees at an interest rate of 50%.
Yeah.
So those were the things were happening, and then they used to kind of take an opportunity of, like, just in case if they didn't end up used to paying the interest or the principal, they used to kind of take their p-
Yeah.
things,
Some
from
collateral. Yeah. Yeah.
collateral and all, like forcefully. So those were the things we were able to kind of solve, and that was a very exciting times. We also kind of help beggars, to be very honest, and that was one of the most difficult things, because I remember I started getting calls from the mafias, because
Okay.
I was a kid back in the day, and I never knew that it was all tackled by the mafias, and even the big guys are involved in this. And I got threatened as
So what
a
you hear is
20.
basically real. I mean, you never.
Yes.
Uh, so you've done so
Yes.
much, in all of these sectors, and obviously you've had this massive amount of experience, which has led to your journey so far. I think the jump to that, you were right. The tech entrepreneurship journey is usually very much more laden with tech at all these stages, but I think you've done
Correct.
way more than most tech entrepreneurs would have ever done, especially in terms of seeing India for what it really is, right? What
Yeah.
made
So
you
and
finally settle on this, like, this sort of a the tech topic then?
so after that, like, I did that for a couple of years, and then I was in the ecosystem of social entrepreneurship for about 2 to 3 years after that. BJP came in power in 2014, so we couldn't continue working with the government because they came up with Jan Dhan Yojana. So they also dissolved UIDAI. So that was difficult times
Mm,
for us. So we started providing financial literacy, and that time I went for a fellowship based out of US in Atlanta, Georgia, and then there I got selected for another fellowship based out of UK, Liverpool, and represented India as well in UN for Sustainable Development Goal number one, no poverty. And but ultimately, I joined a company based out of San Francisco in health tech space, and started their India operations in Bangalore.
mhm.
So that was a journey, but then I felt, it's been 5 years. I need to kind of pivot my career. Like and have to move out of the operations and to explore more fields, because I'm very inquisitive as a person. And I kind of allowed myself to learn a lot in the beginning, as I mentioned that, because my learning started from the day one of college. Before that, it was
Right.
just cracking IIT, and that's
Academic,
about it.
yeah.
Academic, and particularly gravitating towards clearing a competitive exam. So I kind of pivoted. I kind of started accelerating my skills towards finance. Through Coursera was a new sort of phenomena. Like those MOOC
Yeah.
courses was a new thing, and started applying into close to 150 companies in consultancy, and luckily got into EY, Ernst and Young, in
Mm,
their investment banking arm. Started off my career as a at a very what I mean, like the what do you call as an analyst, which is like one of
mm,
the bottommost position, but in the good industry, which is investment banking. So and kind of accelerated up to an associate very quickly in 2 years. So I came back to Delhi, though I have an opportunity to kind of join their Bangalore office. I came back to Delhi and did investment banking for 2.5 years, and that kind of gave me a wider perspective of the other side of the world completely. Where we were dealing in money every single day. We were talking the numbers. We were doing deals close to. We were working with the companies from 100 crores to 10,000 crores. We were doing the ticket size of raising capital for from 75 crores to 2,000 crores. We were
mm.
making good amount of money as a company as EY. uh, we were meeting a lot of CXOs. So I primarily, had financial skills and got selected into EY because of my mechanical engineering as well skills, because they were looking out for some specialist who has a sort of a mix of both worlds, and
Hmm.
because I primarily looked into automotive industry and diversified industrial products. So somehow my mechanical engineering came into use, and
Hmm.
and that was the time I relearned a lot of things. I started looking into things very very differently. Over there my entire sort of worldview started kind of not changing, I would say, but expanding into the other domains of how the entire capitalist world works, what kind of
Hmm.
companies. Because before that, the the wholesome idea of starting a company was not to make money, it was to serve people. Even today it
Yeah,
is not,
given all the things.
but
Yeah.
yeah, but it never got in. So valuation games and everything wasn't very clear to me while I was running my entrepreneurship firm in social sector. But I think that journey of 2.5 years kind of made me realize a lot of things, because we were suggesting 10,000 crore companies of how to do, uh, you know going forward, what to do with your company and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
that was a
Yeah.
real learning. And but I kind of quit my job in 2018, because I felt that I'm ready again to kind of take a plunge. And
Nice.
but in the beginning, what I did was join my family business. I, by then, my dad expanded his business from chemicals to energy to a bit of logistics, and that's for the first time I got introduced to these three sectors, where I started looking into energy and logistics, because primarily we were into trading of commodities, doing bit of import and export. And trading requires logistics services, because you end up delivering the material to the end customer, which are large
Right.
conglomerates of the companies. So that was the one thing that I started looking into in the beginning. Like, I'm talking about 2018, early 2018. And so while I was doing this, I again figured that, okay, you know this is not how should be done, because like there were so many problems. We were taking the vehicles from the market,
Right.
and then and the so because we were outsourcing the vehicles, we often used to see that there used to movement in the freights without the movement of the diesel. We could see fleet owners have the vehicles, but we didn't used to get the vehicles in time. So all of those things started kind of bogging down in my mind. Like, it used to bug me every single day, like why it's happening. So I started kind of looking into the entire ecosystem, try to and I was just doing it for the sake of improving my family business in the beginning. But in next 2 to 3 months I felt there's a lot of white space in the entire sector. There are so many gaps I could see. uh, why a transporter is making 70% money where he's not putting anything, where a fleet owner who is responsible for everything is only making 20% of the money. So why there is so much of irregularities, why there is so much of gap. So what I did was, after about a year, I took a sabbatical of 3 months, and went down to explore the entire road transportation market pan India. What I did was, I went to different clusters across the country where there are small fleet owners, there are transporters. I talked to a lot of MSMEs, I talked to the corporates, logistic professionals in the industry, and try to make sense of the entire industry. And when I came back, it was like a relearning for me. Understood a lot of market from the ground up, understood what were the differences, why it is the way it is. And told my family that, okay, I would not be continuing to work in the family business. I would be starting something of my own. And they supported me
Yeah.
100%. There wasn't any hesitation, because they always supported me in what I did. And that's how my journey of Trucknetic started in 2019.
Wow.
uh,
Wow. On
and so
while we heard this entire story, I was just thinking, how we'll be able, where does that inspiration, after having done so many things and so many different things, where did the inspiration for the product come from? And of course, now I think it makes sense that you're a person who likes to dabble and then incrementally sort of build on one piece. But before we go in a little more deeper, and I know I'm very interested in understanding the Trucknetic journey on its own in the last 2 years that it's been done. But before that, let's take a quick break and come back and continue the conversation.
Sure.
Hello, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcasts Network. On Think Fast, Varun and Suchita talk about how the podcast industry hit the 1 billion mark. On Big Talk About Tiny Humans, Devi Shobha and Meghna address video game addiction in children. On The Longest Constitution, Priya explores the limits of free speech. On All Things Policy, the Takshashila folk discuss various aspects of the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework, or IPEF. And on Football Twaddle, Saru Baru and Yash analyze Real Madrid's UCL win. We've got some exciting news for you. IVM Podcasts has just launched its merch, and our first line is out now. Head to the IVM Podcasts website and click on the shop tab to check out our first collection of t-shirts. Do follow us on social media. We are IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. Also, don't forget to rate us on any platform you're listening on. And you can also check us out on YouTube. We're also doing a small listener survey to better understand how you respond to our shows and advertising on the network. We would really appreciate it if you could spare a few minutes to fill it out. It helps us build better shows for you. And finally, we would like to thank our sponsors this week: SBI Life Insurance, Jupiter, a digital banking app, Capgemini, get the future you want, Intel V Pro, built for business, and Intel, future banao wonderful with Intel-powered laptops.
Hey everyone, welcome back. We are in conversation with Arham, who was just telling us about what Trucknetic is all about, and of course, now that you're here, now you're a tech entrepreneur after having been a serial entrepreneur in so many different things. What were the first few challenges that you realized that, like you mentioned, the white space that you wanted to solve for, and then could you also tell us about the actual technology and the platform that you've built?
Sure. So I mean, like, the challenge was humongous, to be very honest. When I thought about doing it, I didn't know how to take a domain name because I've never taken one. All the startups that I've done in the past, I didn't have to. Uh, uh, so it was that, starting from there, like which where to take a domain name from, to kind of, I am not myself a techie. Specifically, I don't do coding and stuff. So I have to figure out everything from scratch. There wasn't any team member. So the challenges were multiple, not just in the industry but outside as a normal entrepreneur. But again, things started happening. I mean, like, once you kind of focus on changing something, want to do something, you tend to get all the support what you require. Definitely, few months in the beginning are hard. So for us, as soon as we figured out that, okay, this is the problem that we are looking to solve. So what we did was, there were a lot of problems, which were there, which we identified and started, kind of, making sense out of it, as in, like, what we can do around these things. So one of the few things came up as, like, the cost of logistics in the country, in India, is around 16% of GDP as compared to 8 to 10% globally. So there's a huge delta of 6%, which can be attributed to a lot of reasons, like the regulations over here, the infrastructure, but majorly it's because of the demand and supply mismatch. And that's where we thought, like, let's just start Trucknetic with, you know, uh, uh, you know, you know, where we can solve the problem of, making the demand supply more coherent, more seamless, so that, because every single year in India we are losing $45 billion because of demand supply mismatch. $45 billion, which is a very big number, and that's what we wanted to kind of solve for. Also, the problem of return load is something that kind of excited us, because while I kind of took a sabbatical and kind of, explored the market, figured out one of the reasons why the cost is very high for certain lanes as compared to, other lanes, is because, there's unavailability of loads while going back. The return load was the problem, where the cost of diesel, overhead expenses, driver cost, RTO expenses are all the same. If you come from Mumbai to Delhi versus Delhi to Mumbai, the cost will be exactly the same. But there would be a freight difference while going back, where these fleet owners have to take a massive haircut, which can go up to 80%. And at times where they don't have any sort of you know visibility of return load, they have to do dry run where they don't get any load. So that kind of gets into the calculation of the freight for the shipper, so the shipper end up paying more freight. So that's how the entire ecosystem has been built, and that's why the cost is very high in the country as compared to other nations. And that's where we kind of got interested and tried to solve the problem and build systems. I mean, cutting the long story short, it took us close to 1.5 years. So right now it's been 3 years for us to running the show, where we started the company somewhere in September in 2019, and it's almost 3 years that we're going to complete in September this year. It took us close to 1.5 years to kind of develop our right tech. It is a app based company where we do have two applications. One is primarily for the carriers, carriers as in like the fleet owners and the transporters. Other is for the corporates. So Trucknetic essentially is a one-stop solution for all kind of trucks. It's like essentially it's Uber for trucks, where we are redefining digital freight services by establishing a marketplace where we can connect both carriers and shippers onto one platform for both front loads and return loads, where we're using high-end technology such as artificial intelligence, machine learning, and other automation softwares. So essentially, it's one of the products where we do provide trucks for all use cases. I mean, like we do provide trucks within a city. We do provide trucks interstate. We do work with B2C. We do work with B2B. We work with an individual. We work with the corporates. We work with somebody who just requires one truck in a year. Then we do work with somebody like Reliance Industries, who has 500 trucks movement minimum from one plant per day. So
Yeah.
we do have all kind of trucks on our platform. Whereas if you would see any of the competitors in the industry, they would have a specific use case for their application, whether it's porter, let's transport, or other applications. So the
Hmm.
idea was to offer multiple product services, multiple offerings to our customers, so they don't have to download five different applications to book
Any
services.
kind of
Yeah,
service, yeah.
yeah, I mean, like,
But
because yeah, happens is like they have to kind of download different applications for different use cases while booking trucks. So we made sure that they don't need to kind of go out anywhere. Just by downloading Trucknetic, they can get all kind of trucks, whether it's for their personal use or for their company, whether they want to move groceries to their places or furniture, movers and packer services, or they want to kind of do bulk movements.
okay, nice. And in all
Yeah,
of this, obviously, it's a very unregulated sector. I mean, like you said, it's been a sector which has not seen so much tech. Uh, in spite of being such a mature, let's say, industry in India. So while you build the technology and while the concept of, let's say, an Uber for trucks existed, what their operational sort of challenges? I mean, you've dealt with, let's say, like mafia kind of cartel type kind of industries before this. To me also sounds like one of those industries where there's a lot of
right.
cartelization and there's a lot of these groups you have to deal with. I'm sure lobbying and whatnot. So how was that?
From the shipper side, it's not that difficult, to be very honest, because anybody who requires truck doesn't participate in lobby. I mean, like, it's just one way. I mean, like, there are a few bad apples probably in the corporates where they would have settings, with the transporters, where they represent a big corporate, but they would take
Right,
under the table some payments from the particular transporters to kind of provide them the work.
right.
So that is one model that I've seen in the shippers. Otherwise, from the shipper industry, it's not that difficult. And specifically when it comes to MSMEs, because the promoters are the ones who are kind of doing the business. So I mean, like, they are the owners in a way. So
Hmm.
MSMEs doesn't do anything. So is individuals. It's in few corporates that you would see that structure. When it comes to the transporters and the fleet owners are the the most humblest of the people, because these are the ones who actually own the trucks, and they are very it's so we do have in India close to 12 million trucks, and
Hmm.
95% of the fleet owners own less than three trucks. And
Yeah.
so all of these smaller fleet owners, they are very humble, they are grounded, they often work with the transporters. The transporters are the sharks. These transporters have
Hmm.
a network of fleet owners. These are the ones who provide them the loads. So over
Right.
here, the transporters and their associations were the challenge in the beginning. So because So they aren't mafias, but they are associations where,
Right, right.
or uni
Groups with
and
interests. Yeah.
unions, right? So where they
Yeah.
don't allow you to work in particular industries. So what we have done, you know uh, one of the models that we have done for the few corporates, where we started providing them the return trucks. We didn't used to take
Mm.
the trucks from the market, where these associations were. So these associations used to kind of like, okay, we wouldn't be giving trucks to you because you are spoiling our market. And
Mm.
if you're gonna work, we'll see you have to pay heavy losses. We'll make sure we have connect with the RTOs and all. We're gonna make your vehicle get confiscated and stuff like that. So those were the challenges that my team heard in few of the states where we started replacing the transporters which were 35-year-old over there. They started establishing their footprint over there, and then they used to kind of also you know exploit the end customer, even the big corporates, because they
Mm.
started off the business with the corporate. And if the corporate is like 35 years old, the transporters would be like 30, 32 years old themselves. So working with them, and what they do is, like they stop providing vehicles altogether if the corporate makes an entry to a new transporter. Even if a corporate opens one lane, and they have 100 lanes where their material is going to go, and this transporter who would be catering to 50, 55 lanes would immediately stop all the lanes and would threaten that,
Mm.
okay, I would not work.
Mm.
So the corporates were suffering because of that, and then they had their own sort of demands. They would change the freights whenever they want and stuff like that. So they didn't want to get out of the market. So but what we have done, that we kind of instilled the faith in the corporates that we would be able to handle it, and we're gonna manage everything of all those things, all those problems that are gonna be coming from the transporters. And just in case if the transporter that you would work with is not able to provide you the trucks for any lanes, we're gonna help you out with that as well. So we
Nice.
started giving that comfort to the corporates by starting with the with few lanes and then moving to a lot more lanes. When it comes to the supply, we rather than taking the trucks from that particular area itself, we started kind of taking the trucks which were the return trucks which were coming in that area. For example, if it's Delhi to Mumbai, so we were taking the trucks which were coming from Mumbai to Delhi rather than
Mm.
taking it from Delhi area. So that kind of automatically helped us to kind of start working with them at a better rates, because then you can pass on the benefits of the return load, because there's a lot difference in terms of freight when it comes to return versus front. As well as these transporters, like after 3 to 4 months, they came with us, they did a meeting with us and said that, okay, we now know that the business will gonna come to you anyways, so let's just collaborate. And the idea
Nice.
from the day one was that only, that
Nice.
idea is not to eliminate anybody. We are not the transporters, we are a platform. The idea is not to kind of eliminate the transporters. The idea is to regulate them. We
Right.
don't want them to exploit the customer or the fleet owner and make 70% margin in between, because that's not legitimate, where the entire
Mm.
gross margin is 3 to 5%. We want to make that sort of an ecosystem where everybody should enjoy margins equally. So that's what we have been able to try. And we did that for three different companies, specifically for the corporates, where we started off with a lot of pushback from the transporters unions, but they eventually are working with us,
Nice.
and they're
You
happy
know,
because
yeah.
these guys were not now are not just placing the trucks for that company. We are helping them to provide the trucks, provide the loads for them to for the other locations as well from that same area. So they are happy that they are
Very
getting more
nice.
business now.
Very nice. Given that you've done already so much in the industry, where do you see this, and personally, maybe also for you, like, where do you want to see this journey really play out? What's your, let's say, end goal for this business, or are you already thinking about the next one at this point?
I mean, like, definitely being a serial entrepreneur, your brain never shuts down. So you always look problems as challenges and challenges as opportunity, and
Yeah.
opportunities as something to dabble with to start off. So that's one sector where most of my Sundays go, where we try to figure out what's next. And Monday to Saturday is primarily for building Trucknetic. So the vision that you have asked for Trucknetic individually is to become the biggest company in the country without owning a single truck. We want,
Right.
why we call ourselves Uber for trucks is because we want to be that option. Today, if you want Shiladitya truck or somebody else, the first name comes to you should be Trucknetic. So that's the idea.
Nice.
We already have 10 lakh trucks in our network out of 12 million, which is 1/12 of the entire fleet. And we are in the midst of a Series A where we are raising $10 million. We already have
Nice.
got some commitments, and probably we're gonna close around by the end of July, and uh, would be able to expand to 3 million sort of trucks with us in next 2 years. Also, last
Wow.
year Microsoft picked us up, and they put in some money as well as opened up their Azure AI platform. So because at the back end we are solving the problem of return load using artificial intelligence and machine learning, where we are doing demand forecasting in a way that we
Right.
know that okay, the truck which is coming in return versus the demand that will gonna come from there. And that's why, and one of the visions that we do have, is that because Uber has become Uber today, or Ola has become Ola in passenger vehicle space or an aggregation platform, just because of the reason that they were able to kind of solve the problem of return load or return freight, where the only KPI that they're tracking is how can they reduce the wastage of miles without freight.
Yes.
And that's why they were able to kind of displace Merus and taxis for shows in the country. Because if a Meru is providing 28 rupees per kilometer to a customer, whereas Uber started off providing 8 to 10 rupees in the beginning. So the reason was because they were like, if somebody is going from, for example, Bandra to Navi Mumbai, using Meru, then in Navi Mumbai, Meru doesn't have a passenger where
Yeah.
the cab can come back to Bandra or maybe Juhu or Andheri. Whereas Uber has that sort of a network,
Correct.
where they have the return, they have a passenger over there as well. So rather than taking it from the one customer, they could have split it between two. And
Correct.
as you have a better network, as you would have a better network, as you would use AI and ML, you would be able to connect that better. You can, you could will constantly reduce the wastage of miles, and that's
Correct.
what we have been trying to do with trucking services as well. In trucking, the losses are even higher. I mean, like for example, if Mumbai to Delhi cost 1,000 rupees, and in freight were so like Delhi to Mumbai will gonna, a fleet owner in general would make at max 20 25 200 to 250 rupees,
Hmm.
which doesn't make a lot of sense, right? I mean, like, it's exactly the same kilometers, it's exactly the
Correct.
same
Correct.
movement, it's exactly the same cost. So why there's a difference? The difference is because these fleet owners, they don't have the direct link from Mumbai. They might have a transporter, through which they can get 1,000 rupees, but while they come back, they don't know whom to approach. So they
Correct.
approach a broker,
Correct.
and the broker takes that margin. The end customer is still paying 1,000 rupees.
They're the same.
Somebody
Yeah.
who's moving
Exactly.
the material from Delhi is still paying 1,000 rupees, but the
It.
broker in between is making 750. So what
It's
we have
it's
done
all
is we have
information arbitrage, basically, right?
yeah, it's all information arbitrage because it's a smaller network. So what we have done is, first of all, we have taken that broker out of the system, because this broker is useless. This broker is
Yeah.
not a transporter. This broker is the one who has a few connections, and they are just taking anyways unnecessarily. So we
Advantage of
haven't
that. Yeah.
eliminated them. Yes. So what we have done is we have directly linked the companies with companies. So for example, with the geofencing technology that we do have, if somebody is coming from Mumbai to Delhi, as soon as they enter Delhi area, so automatically the push notification is sent to the relevant MSMEs whose load is ready. And we know the load of
Nice.
these MSMEs in advance for 30 days, because we do have that feature in our application. So
Yeah.
now, and then what we can do is, with this side of thing, we are able to increase the revenue for the fleet owner per truck per day. At the same time, reduce the freight to the shipper. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and which help us to simultaneously bring down the cost of logistics in the country, and kind of be in with Narendra Modi's vision of net zero by 2070, where
Hmm.
we are able to significantly reduce the carbon footprint. Because right
Nice.
now the asset utilization in the country of the trucks is around 50% or even less out of 12 million trucks.
So
So at
lot
any
of
given point
upside.
of time, yeah, any given times, less than 60 lakh vehicles are moving with load. Otherwise, 60% of the
Wow.
vehicles will be stranded without load.
Wow.
And then even then, people are putting up new trucks in the ecosystem. So that's the problem, and that's what we are trying to solve, that where we can utilize the existing fleets in such a way that we can reduce the cost of logistics in the country. And that's why
Nice.
it's very high, right? That's why we are losing $45 billion every year, which is a very, very big number
Yeah.
out of the $215 billion Indian industry.
Wow. You know, Aram, I mean, obviously the vision is grand, and I know you, like you said, you're 1/12 of the way, or and you'll soon be more along that. For people who are listening to this show, what's the best place to reach out to you? Do you want to give us a way to reach you in there if they're industry interested in the industry, or want to talk to you about anything else?
Sure. I mean, like, there are multiple ways you can reach out to me. You can drop a line at arham@trucknetic.com. You can also kind of come on LinkedIn. I'm quite active on LinkedIn. It's LinkedIn, Arham P. Jain. I have a website as well, Arham P. Jain, because I love entrepreneurial ecosystem. That's what I know, and that's how I've been doing. And I
Right.
write tiny checks to the startups as well, the ones who are starting their journeys that I have done like a few years ago, and still like an entrepreneur. And I also kind of provide anything, any support that I can, because I know that the
That's amazing.
entrepreneurship
Yeah.
journey is hard at times. So they can reach out to the contact ID that we do have on my personal website as well.
Wonderful. No, we'll be sure to include those details, Aram. I think, this was a very enlightening conversation because not only is your personal journey really, really inspiring, given where you started and obviously where you are today, plus the fact that you're solving something which is, again, one of those, it's not a popular, super popular sector or one of the hot startup sectors, you can
Yeah, it
say,
is
which
not.
we've been hearing about. But it's such a real problem, and it's such a real, I would say, ground truth of our country that we need to solve for. So everyone listening in, I hope you enjoyed this conversation. If you like this, please reach out to Arham, and of course, Shunya One a rating or a review wherever you're listening to this, and we'll hope to have Arham back again and continue this conversation. Thank you so much, Arham. This was really, really great.
Sure. I just want to add one more point, if you may
Yeah,
allow.
sure, please, please.
So one of the things, and I would want to just reach out to the audience, and telling that don't think about destinations, to be very honest. The journeys are the most beautiful things that happens to me. And when I was kind of stopped looking into the destination, okay, where I'm heading towards, or where I should stop, or this is what I want to achieve, I often have failed in life, like
Right.
in the beginning of doing IIT and stuff. And then when I let myself loose and just started enjoying the journey every single day, I loved every single thing. And you would see that, okay, it doesn't make sense, while you were doing it, why you were doing something, but everything in the hindsight would make sense. As Steve Jobs has rightly said, that you cannot connect the dots looking forward. You can only do it looking backwards, right? So uh, and why I wanted to kind of take that extra minute of yours is because we started off this company with the vision of solving the problem of return load, but we were always supplier focused. We wanted to elevate the truck drivers and the small fleet owners. That's why we have started a platform even before starting Trucknetic, called What the Truck, where
Hmm.
we provide and help drivers, truck drivers. It's the non-profit organization is called Highway Heroes India Foundation, where this year itself we're gonna be helping 5 lakh truck drivers in getting the health insurance, life insurance rather, while they are in transit. Because
Wow.
most of the
Wow.
times what
Very
happens
nice.
is, like, they lose their lives and stuff. We are one of our videos is getting released where we're gonna show like what happens to the driver. We wanted to make people aware that these were the true COVID warriors. They were the ones who delivered the material in time. That's why we were able to live our lives peacefully at homes. They are the ones who were kind of without any dhabas open during the lockdowns. They still moved, carrying one or two
Yes.
rotis from their station, and meticulously kind of driven for two straight days to kind of make sure that medicines were available, oxygen cylinders were there, the essentials were coming to the to reach out to the right people. And like, and they were the ones who weren't included, and even the government of India didn't recognize them as true COVID warriors, but their
Hmm.
role is instrumental. And that's why we have been able to uh,
Absolutely.
uh, kind of pick them up. We want to kind of, and these are real heroes, and that's why, the name in itself, Highway Heroes, because we strongly feel these are like superheroes, and they don't get any due for that. Most of the times in the industry,
Yeah.
they are
Yeah.
often called by their truck numbers rather than their names. They will, you're gonna often see that operations team will gonna say that up driver is गाड़ी के driver बोल रहे हो ना. Nobody recognizes their name. It's a thankless
Yeah.
job, and most of the
Yeah.
people, they're gonna talk ill about them, talking about that, they are shabbily dressed, they drink alcohol, they do pilferage, uh, they are the ones who, don't have any
No,
ethics
very,
and
very,
stuff.
you rightly said. It's a thankless job. It's an unrecognized job, I would say.
So that's what we are doing, and we are constantly trying to help them out, and we were the first company in the country who were able to kind of, actually kind of connect with them on human level. And like why I mentioned the entire thing of, in the hindsight everything makes sense. My journey of social entrepreneurship made me, realize the importance of empathy in life,
Yeah.
where I can step into their shoes and understand where they're coming from, where I can actually feel the pain that they go through every single day. And that's why, it was instrumental or quintessential for us to kind of, dabble into, their lives, constantly trying to improve that. We are also raising funds for, we are doing a campaign with Impact Guru very sure, where we're gonna be
Nice.
raising money for their families as well, for the education of the kids. Because, and because in the interview that we did, nobody wants to become a truck driver, and nobody wants their kids to become a driver. It's such a bad job in the country, that there will gonna be an acute shortage of drivers going forward if we wouldn't kind of take the industry in the hands. I think government of India needs to kind of, look into it very aggressively, because otherwise the entire logistics system will gonna fall down, specifically road
That's
transportation,
true.
because nobody looks into getting into the job. The only thing is, because of the poverty that we do have in the country, they often tend to get attracted to this job, because it doesn't require any kind of a skill set after a point in time. But it
Yeah.
shouldn't be the way it is right now.
Yeah.
So that's the
No,
one thing
very,
that I
very,
wanted to
very,
kind of
very
mention.
right. I think this is so important, and thank you for calling this out. Obviously, we look forward to the video. We will definitely share it once it's out, and it's amazing that you're doing what you're doing for the industry and for the people in the industry. So, Aram, kudos to you. More power to you and the team at Trucknetic and Highway Heroes and everyone else involved with you. We'll definitely be looking forward to how this journey plays out. And thank you once again for sharing your story, for sharing the story of Trucknetic with us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Shiladitya.